Did you know that there are over 44 million borrowers that owe a collective $1.5 trillion in student loan debt in the US alone? Hi, I'm Kyle Christensen, and today I want to talk to you about student loan debt and the importance of avoiding student loans. So I have experience with student loans. I've taken out student loans for college, and they were a big mistake for me. I had about $10,000 worth of debt going to school. I started in about 2009 and went until about 2014. I was planning on being a physical therapist, and I was taking out loans each year for my schooling. I got my associate's degree and was working on my bachelor's. And then I decided that physical therapy wasn't for me. And so I ended up going back to working and stopped going to school for a while. And I had all this debt from my schooling, and I didn't have the job that comes with going to school to pay for that debt. And so I had to spend a lot of time working and saving up and budgeting to pay off that student loan. And eventually I was able to get that student loan paid off, and now I'm going back to school. But this time I've planned and saved up so that I can pay for my schooling as I go along without taking out student loans. And just it's been such a relief not to have to worry about that student debt and just how it racks up each year, how you have to keep on top of paying it off. And I know many of you that are listening to this have student debt and are trying to avoid it and trying to plan how to pay it off. And so I just want to talk about why you should avoid student debt and some of the things you can do to stay out of debt. My goal is to persuade you to avoid student debt at all costs, and if you already have student debt, to set up a plan to pay off that loan as soon as possible. So student loan debt is the second highest consumer debt out of anything, including credit cards and auto loans, which is completely shocking because I would think credit cards are a much higher source of debt for people since so many people use credit cards. The only thing higher is mortgages, which makes sense because everybody has to. Most people want to buy a house. And many borrowers of the class of 2017 on average owe $28,650. So like I said, with my debt, I owe $10,000, which is a lot less than $28,000, and I struggled a lot just to pay off my $10,000 worth of debt. So I couldn't even imagine having close to $30,000 worth of debt. And honestly, I think the problem is a lot of people just assume they'll get a job instantly out of college that pays really good and that it'll be easy to pay off their debt. But a lot of people don't get a good career right away. They have to work their way up in a company, or sometimes they just struggle to find work right after college. So you can't just rely on that. You gotta plan that there could be a chance that you don't get right into a career right away. So many people justify getting loans because they know if it's a federal government loan that it's not going to be as high as percentage. The problem with that is many federal government loans are still really high. They could be usually around 5 to 6%, but all the way up to even 9%. And then, oh, sorry, I accidentally went back. I accidentally went too far forward. And then private loans can be all the way up to 12%. And so the federal government isn't giving you much of a break when it comes to loans. They see it more as a business. They're giving out these student loans to make money. They make millions and millions of dollars off of us with our student debt. And so they don't always have us in their best interest, which is kind of what I was thinking when I first got my student loans. I thought, hey, it'll be a pretty good rate in the loan because we're students and they're gonna, take it easy on us, but that wasn't necessarily the case. So these are some pretty cool facts I found of why you should avoid student loans. 41% of students don't even graduate after 6 years, let alone 4 years. Most students think they're going to graduate, after 4 years and get right into a career. Kind of like me, that's what I was thinking, but I've been in school for over 6 years, and my problem was I was really indecisive. I couldn't really decide what I wanted to do, and I kept changing my mind. And I think most college students change their mind, and they're sitting here spending all this money for borrowing to pay for their schooling, and then they keep changing their mind. They have to keep paying until they finally graduate. So I think it's important to really think about what you want to go into in college. Don't take too long. Don't be too indecisive. Experiment a little bit, but don't be sitting there borrowing more and more money, getting into more debt without really sticking with a plan of graduating and getting a specific career. Also, loans can tank your credit score, so you won't be able to get loans in other things such as vehicles or even house mortgages. I was reading some info that said like 40% of college graduates have to hold back for like 3 to 5 years just to get a house because they're working on paying back their student debt, so they never can even get into a home after they graduate. Many students think they should get student loans because that they can apply for student forgiveness, and that student forgiveness will help them get rid of a lot of their debt, which isn't true. Here's some of the stats I found through some of the studies I was doing. Total number of applications last year for student forgiveness was over 49,000. And of that 49,000, only 423 were approved for student forgiveness. So don't expect to have student forgiveness as a plan of paying off your student loans. So some of the solutions to avoiding student debt. I wish there could be something an easy way I could tell you of avoiding it and paying off your student debt, but there's really no easy way. I'd say first and foremost, you need to work on getting scholarships and financial aid. There's a lot of scholarships out there that you can get, whether that be for athletics or for getting good grades for academics. There's scholarships for everything, for your ethnicity, your culture, you can write essays. There's different essays and service projects you can write that you can get accepted for scholarships. And that's something I wish I would have known more about, because when I was in high school, I wasn't really thinking about the future and about college. I wish my parents would have kind of pushed me to prep for it a little more. Told me to save up and to do better in school and to look for different scholarship opportunities, because I didn't really work on any of those, and then I went straight into school thinking everything would be okay, and then all of a sudden I'm racking up all this debt. But if I would have worked on my academics and different sources of getting scholarships, that could have really helped me. As far as financial aid goes, I was able to get a lot of financial aid help with my living costs and food costs. And some of my schooling, which helped me out a lot. I would have been a lot more in debt if it wasn't for financial aid. So even if you don't think you can get financial aid, I would always apply every year for school, because you don't know, you might get accepted for your financial aid, and that can make all the difference. And that's really helped me out a lot. So always apply for financial aid. And I say if you don't have the money to pay for the schooling, hold off on the schooling. Just work, save up money, be good with your money. Don't worry about, you might see all your friends buying cool fancy cars and toys. Take this time to make sacrifices and just save up. Don't spend your money poorly, and use that money to pay for your schooling. up front. Then you don't have to deal with loans ever. You don't have to worry about that. And that's something I had to learn after getting loans. Now that I'm going to school now, I'm saving up and paying straight for my schooling. And I suggest doing that with all things. With your car, I would pay straight cash for your car. Get a crappy car now, and in the future when you have a better job, you can spend more money on a better car. And also avoid credit cards. I don't even use credit cards ever. But I mean, I was able, some people want to build their credit, and that's fine, but don't overly use your credit cards. And I think the biggest thing to get out of this is the importance of making sacrifices. Don't just live in the now and think you can just get loans, that you can spend money anywhere and just have a good time. It all eventually catches up to you. Eventually you'll have to pay off those loans. You'll have to pay off that car. Live within your means. If you have to live at home and save rent, do that. Save up money. Avoid going on too many vacations. Do the things you have to be able to pay off your schooling up front and not have to get loans. So I just want to challenge you to avoid student loans at all costs. To work, save up money, don't spend too much money on unnecessary things. And if you do have student loans, set a plan, set a budget, so that you can pay off those student loans. Because I know how it feels to have student loans, and it's always in the back of your mind. No matter what, you always know I eventually have to pay this off, and it brings a lot of stress. And that's stress that you can avoid. And so thank you for your time.